Hey, it's Garcia, one of the coaches here at Life in Year, and I just wanted to touch base with you and talk to you a little bit about the 4 stages of prosperity that we're always talking about in Life in Year. If you were on the call this week, you would have heard we were talking a lot about stage 3, right? And so stage 1 is write our vision. Stage 2 is meet our monthly obligations, our bills. Stage 3 is where we start investing some of the extra money that we have, creating passive income, right? And then stage 4 is when our stage 4 passive income covers all of our stage 2 needs. And so on this call this week, we were talking a lot about how to create more passive income in stage 3. And I shared with the group my current situation. And what that is that I own a number of rental houses, and all of them are free and clear. So I have no leverage on them. And something I've been contemplating for the last year or so is, should I tap into some of that equity and put it to work, right? So my struggle has been, I really love being debt-free in my business and in my personal life. However, I started running some numbers a while ago and was realizing that I could be making way more money than the amount of risk I would have to take by leveraging some of the properties I have. I've looked at self-storage, I've looked at some apartment buildings, and Airbnbs, short-term rentals, to be some of the opportunities that I might look at investing in, okay? So during this process, what I've learned is that if I take on a little bit of risk, and I'm willing to do that, I use debt often to make money. An example would be when I flip a house, I'll use private money from my private lenders, and I will borrow 100% of the rehab and 100% of the purchase price. And after paying that back with expenses, I usually will make $20,000, $30,000, and I'm totally comfortable doing that. I will preface this by saying I believe being debt-free is very important. And for me, it's not only where I'm comfortable, but also it's kind of something that, if you're one of my students or have talked to me in the past about money, it's something that I talk a lot about. However, now I'm kind of changing my mindset a little bit and looking at taking out just a little bit of leverage. Overall in my portfolio would be maybe 10%, okay, or less. And the example that I used on this call, and I want to talk about it here just to give you an idea of where it might help you, is if you have a small amount of cash set aside that you don't know how to invest it or where to invest it. If you have, maybe like me, a lot of equity and you want to try to gain more passive income, this would maybe be something that you might want to consider, okay? This wouldn't be for everybody. And again, I just want to preface again once more that being debt-free is the better way to go, okay? So the scenario that I talked about on the call was I had been looking around Branson, Missouri, and found a condo that was for sale. It was a 2-bedroom, and the price was $130,000. Now, this condo is no longer available, so the deal it's not something I'm doing. It's just an example that I'm using to show you the numbers. Okay, so the price was $130,000, and I ran the property through AirDNA, and AirDNA said that I should be able to generate about $31,000 in annual revenue. That would be based on $145 a night at a 59% occupancy rate. Okay, so my next step was I added up the expenses. What would the mortgage payment be if I financed that with 20% down? What would the taxes, the insurance, as well as the HOA be? Okay, after those costs, which equaled about $10,120, the net income would have been $20,880. Okay, so going back to my portfolio, if I refinanced one of my properties and took out 80%, let's just say I took out $100,000 for easy math. If I took $25,900, so say $26,000 to put down on the house or the condo in Branson, that would be my 20% down. I'm going to have a little payment on my rental that I refinance, right? But I would still be able to cash flow that, but my cash flow would decrease because of the mortgage payment. Okay. But if I'm making $21,000, roughly $20,880, which is an 80% return on my money. Okay. And the way I calculated that was if I put down $26,000 to purchase it and I'm making roughly $21,000, that's an 80% return. Okay. What does that look like monthly? If you took that 20,880, the net profits from the short-term rental, and just divided it by 12 evenly, and it's not going to work out this way, but just to give you an idea, that would roughly be about $1,733 more passive income a month. So true numbers, on a rental house that I would consider doing this, my rent would be $1,000. And after taxes and insurance, I'm probably bringing home just under $8. With the mortgage payment, would be about $600, give or take, on that. So I would still net $200 a month on my current rental. However, I would be generating an additional $1,700. So when you add the $1,700 that averages out, again, it probably is not going to work out that, because some months you're going to make a lot more and other months you're not going to make as much. But on average, I'd make $1,733 on that particular short-term rental. If you add the $200 that I am still going to be able to cash flow my current property with, now I'm at just under $2,000. Okay, so that's a 97% increase on what I'm getting. Okay, and I know I'm throwing a lot of numbers at you, but maybe listen to the video a second time, or even if you want to give me a call, or we can talk about this on next month's call. Our Inner Circle calls are every month, and I do the stage 4, living a stage 4 life call. So jump on that and be happy to run through these numbers with you. I'm sure there'll be a lot of questions. What gets really interesting about this, though, is if you remember, I took out $100,000 from that rental house in the example that we're using. Okay, I've used $26,000. So let's say, all right, I've used basically a quarter of it. If I did that same thing a second time, because I would not have a mortgage on another mortgage, because I'm already making that mortgage payment with the first house on my rental house, my net income now on the second property, again, using $26,000 to do this again, buy a second condo, that would generate me another $2,340 a month. Okay, so what happened is my expenses have gone down because I don't have as much mortgage payment, because the mortgage is being covered by the first one that I purchased. Doing it for a third property would be another $2,340, and a fourth property, I'd have to come out of pocket for a little bit, because if you add 26,000 times 4, it's over the 100,000. But roughly, I would be able to generate another $8,753. Okay. This is a way for somebody with equity, or myself, to take a small risk on my portfolio where I'm still going to be very little leverage, and turn around and purchase 1 to 4 short-term rentals. Now, let me just state that there will be mortgage payments on those, because I'm basically only putting 20% down on each of them. But after expenses, that's the numbers we're talking about. So for many of us, that alone would put you in stage 4, take you from stage 3 to stage 4, because you'd have, $8,000 coming in. For somebody like myself, that would pretty much give me another 70% of what I'm generating currently. So as you know, life can look pretty sweet when you make an extra 70% a year. One of the things that I would like to just tell you is that if you decide to do something like this, don't leverage yourself heavily. If you've already got a lot of mortgages and things like that, this would be, I think, a very wise play for somebody who has a ton of equity. It's just sitting there for years. My money's just been sitting there, but it's not really earning me anything other than my rents. And this gives me an opportunity to take a very small piece of it and generate a large amount of additional passive income. But if you already are heavily leveraged, this is something that may not be a good strategy for you. And of course, always before you make any kind of investment, in any deal, I would recommend that you talk to your coach and make sure that it fits your vision. Make sure that it, is a good move for you. Sometimes we get caught up on the numbers, and it's still not a good deal for us. At least at that time. Just had a conversation earlier As a matter of fact, it was yesterday with a student that has a great opportunity, and it's just not a good opportunity for this time and where he's at in his walk within Life and Ear. If this was 2 or 3 years from now, it would be a phenomenal opportunity. But today, I think it would slow him down too much in his process, as well as give him a lot of risk. A year or two from now, the risk level would drop by at least 50%. So the reason I'm bringing that up is I really do think that you should be running all of these deals that you're looking at by your coach, right? That's what we're here for. And, as always, you're welcome to bring up scenarios, or, this is what that stage 4 call is about, is talking about how do we get from stage 2 to stage 3, or sometimes we rock back and forth, or from stage 3 to stage 4, get into stage 4 and stay. There's been times where in the beginning I'd fall back to stage 3 and I didn't even really realize it at the time, because, there was other funds in the account and that. But, this is just a thought. This is something I'm considering. I'm not even sure I'm going to pull the trigger on it myself, but it's something that was really eye-opening for me, and really gave me another way of just looking at it. I've got a lot of funds just sitting idle, and this would be a way to put a small portion of them to work, again, leaving me well over 90% unleveraged. This would be less than, probably 5% of my income, or of my equity. And I feel that's still being very, very conservative. So again, look at the numbers and see if it works for you. If it does, that, just want to give you some ideas. And thank you for your time, and Merry Christmas to everybody. Thanks.